Hey, welcome to the No Guts, No Game podcast. This podcast is dedicated to help you navigate the journey of buying a Sandler franchise. So whether you've just started the investigation or you're knee-deep into the decision process, we've got you covered. Hi, I'm Dave Mattson, Executive Chairman and President of Franchising here at Sandler. In each episode, I'm interviewing a Sandler franchisee who is in your shoes. Now, maybe they were investigating 2 years ago or 2 months ago, but they're gonna share their experiences, their insights, the questions that they had when they were sitting in your chair. The goal of the podcast is to provide you valuable information and firsthand accounts from their perspective that will help you in your decision-making process for you and your family. So sit back, relax, and get ready to hear from those who've already jumped into entrepreneurship with a Sandler franchise. Hey, Dragan, welcome to the No Guts, No Game podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Dave. It's pretty much a pleasure being your guest.
So, Dragan, you and I have known each other for a little while now. So just for the audience, tell us where you're located and how long you've been part of Sandler.
Well, I'm located in Serbia. For most of your audience, I think that it can never been heard for the Serbia yet, but it's South and Eastern Europe. And well, I'm running this business almost for, let's say, 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, 10
years.
Like
yesterday, you were here in Maryland. You and I spoke.
Yeah. Times fly.
Yeah. So Dragan, a couple things I want to focus in on today. One is Sandler's a U.S. company, right? I mean, obviously we're international. We have offices throughout the world, but I'd love your perspective, I guess, up front when you first started, because you've built the brand in Serbia. Was Sandler well known, and how was it perceived? If you go back in time for a minute, when you first started 10 years ago.
If I was asked 10 years ago, I would say that Sandler would know known brand in Serbia. But after 10 years, I would say it's a very, very known brand in Serbia, especially of my efforts about experience on Instagram and social media, and of course because of home office, who has a great effort to have a visibility worldwide and especially in Serbia.
So let's go back. So I would assume, and that's true in the United States too, people would say, I've never heard of Sandler before. Like, I've never heard of it. So how am I going to open up an office? And I want to get to that in a minute. Like, what did it look like for you in the first, year or so when you first started? I'll get to that in a second. But coming from the US into that part of Europe, knowing that it originated in the US, was that a challenge of any kind for you, or is it, welcome America training? What happened?
Well, the Europeans has, let's say, some kind of prejudice regarding the United States because, if you take pretty much a traditional way of the selling, which is very close to the United States, American way of the selling, they would say, it's a typical American. It doesn't fit for our world. But, when I say it's not about selling, it's all about human behavior and human dynamics. They've been starting changing their paradigm and their perspective about actually what they want to learn. Dave, that we are teaching about human dynamics and human behavior, not about selling. If we learn great things about human behavior and how the things work and biology of the brain, well, selling is just a little bit small portion of entire process.
Yeah, I think that the perception, I've done a lot of work internationally, and we know that the Americans have a sales culture over there. We don't want to be pushy New Yorkers, I'll call it that. That's the perception, right? Push, don't listen. But to your point, what I have found, and it sounds like you found the same thing, to break down that barrier, Sandler's based on psychology. And it's basically teaching communication, of which you apply in the sales world. It's not necessarily sales training, it's human dynamics applied in the sales world. And I think that kind of makes it go away in a way, but it takes time for them to understand that. Like, even 38 years ago, Dragan, I didn't want to be a salesperson. Like I resisted going into Sandler until I realized it was based on psychology and I didn't have to become that slick salesperson that's portrayed in the movie. You know what I mean?
Actually, Dave, it's not about selling. It's not about selling. I tell to my clients, it's not about selling. You have a prejudice. Let me help you to understand. Because when the people are in the fear, they don't want to understand because they are sticking with their comfort zones. So it's not about selling. It's not about, sales training. It's all about human prejudice. And most of the time when I speak to my prospective clients, I ask them, have you ever been exposed to any sales training? And they say, yes, of course. Just tell me 2 or 3 features that you have learned about that program. And they say, well, it was the wasting of the time. So why don't you allow yourself to open your mind, maybe to hear or see something different? And it would be your choice. You have a control over the process. And the way I treat them and the way I talk to them, actually, I'm teaching them.
It's different, right? Yeah, it's different.
Yes.
You're not pushing as a salesperson. You're asking questions like a doctor would, right?
Well, I'm a product of the product. So you told me 10 years ago in Baltimore, I still remember your sentences. You took me on the dinner and you told me, Dragan, remember this. David Sandler told me this. Dragan, invest 5 years of your life to breathe and learn product. And you'll become a product. And when people hear about you, what you know, they will like to know what you know, and they will never ask for the price. And thank you for that. It still works for me, Dave.
It still works here too after all this time.
Yeah.
So let's go back to what's the annual, do you know the annual income of people within Serbia? And I want to ask you a question because we're not cheap, right? So what is it? I think in the US, it's about $1,300 to $1,500 on average. Is that about right?
Well, I spoke about these numbers on the last conference, last summit about Serbian market. And the Serbian market is, I would say, the poorest market in the cellular network. And we are entering it into quite magic. The annual monthly, let's say, wage in Serbia is approximately, I'm going to shock you down, about, let's say, $600 to $700. Yeah, Dave. But what have I realized? Sandler is not for everyone. Do you know why? Not because of the money. It's because of the beliefs and convictions.
Right.
So we are not for everyone because the 97% of the people, they don't want to change their lives. And they want to blame others for their fakes and their failures. The Sandler is for the rest of the 3% of the people. So I said to myself, in Belgrade, in Serbia, Belgrade is the capital of Serbia, there are the people, they are willing and able to pay, let's say for the Rolex Oyster, $40,000 US. They are the people who wants to willing and able to pay 10 days on Maldives holiday for the rest of their family, let's say 40,000. They are the people who wants to, they are willing and able to pay Porsche. So why would someone willing and able to pay my President's Club for 25, 30,000 US? Why? It was my convictions, Dave. And it is still my convictions about my product and about my market.
Well, I think, and I would assume at this point in time, you're getting an awful lot of referrals. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So, you've proven it out that you've gone after a market regardless of the economic conditions within Serbia. You've gone after the entrepreneurial market, right? That invests in themselves and certainly can spend, discretionary income, as you said, with the watches and the vacations. But what's your business look like now? So is it what we're going to call public, whereas the mastery program you call President's Club, or is it a consulting? Is it a little of both? Like, what does it look like for you after 10 years? And what did it look like in the beginning? So walk us kind of through the transition that you've made.
okay, I would lie and I would cheat if I wouldn't say that in the first of, let's say, 1 year or 6 months, 1 year, I was struggling to survive. But it's so logical, it's so typical for entrepreneur's life. Now, Dave, I'm not struggling anymore. I don't work too much, over the day. I work very smart. I don't work hard because I receive a lot of referrals, during the days. Yeah. And my portfolio of my clients is, let's say, I would say 50% of public program and 50% of in-house program. I run a very strong presence club. I have 11 people in my presence club, and my presence club is not a cheap program. It's I don't know, $25,000 per year per person, yeah. And the rest of my clients are corporate clients. I mean, small, medium enterprises, because I would like to have a control over their selling process. I mean, business decision process. If I need to invest much more time and efforts in decision process, I'm going to quit. Yeah. Because if I'm not able to make my clients, I mean, corporate clients, for 10 days, I don't want to invest too much time, because market is huge. There's a lot of opportunity around us. If I invest too much time and energy, I'm telling to myself, I'm afraid to quit, to disqualify, and go to another opportunity. This is my strategy, Dave.
So, Dragan, let's talk a little bit about the type of client that you have. So, for instance, when I was in China, one of the things that I learned was the companies within China aren't hiring Sandler to help manage Chinese or even to sell to other Chinese companies. They were actually hiring us to help sell to Westerners, because they just didn't know how to do that. When it comes to Serbia, do you find that they're hiring you to help sell to the outside world, or within Serbia itself, or a little of both? What are you finding?
Well, I'm finding the both, I find the both models, to helping Serbia. Well, there are the people around me in my market, they have a pretty much open mindset, and they don't take it locally. They take it globally, So they are my clients. They want to make, contribution to mankind. They want to make contribution to their sales employees, I always ask, to the owners of the company, are you financially independent? And they say, yes, I'm financially independent. And I ask them, who supported your financial independence? And he said to me, well, my employees. And I ask them, could you be more specific? And they say, well, my sales team. So let me clarify something. You, as the owner, your financial independence. What about your salespeople and your sales team? Are they still struggling to survive? You drive your new Porsche 911, okay? What your average salesperson drive? And he said, I don't know, some Volkswagen, because Volkswagen is very, popular name, in Europe. And I said, why don't you ask them what would they like to drive? Why don't you ask them how much money they miss in their, home budget? So give to get. So there is a lot of companies in Serbia, they understand this principle, give to get. Because you are getting so rich, you have to give it to back someone who support you to be rich.
Well, even if you take that concept one step further, you're protecting your investment by training your salespeople, because that's where the gold is coming from, as they say.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And I tell them, Dave, do you know what is the best way to give something in return? And they say, what? Give them the best system, probably the best system in the world for selling. How to protect themselves, their emotions, their identity, how to protect their families, their future, and how to protect their incomes. This is the best way you can give them support and
100%.
give them thank you for your support.
Yeah, and I think that's where you create loyalty, right? So if I think back to my days with Dave Sandler, Dave Sandler gave me the ability to become independent and the ability to grow and not keep me boxed in. And for that, I was forever grateful and loyal. Like I was loyal. I mean, sometimes business owners say, well, if I do that, they'll leave me. Not really. They'll stay with you forever.
Hey, Dave, sorry.
No, please. Okay.
I'm so grateful for David Sandler. He was a real historical person. I'm so grateful that he was in existence, and because he created the methodology. And because his methodology, Ron, you know my history. I started my business with $100 in my pocket. I made on very hardest way. I made money on the hardest way in the life to buy a franchise. And now I have a beautiful office space, probably the most beautiful office in my country, maybe in the Europe. I fulfill all my dreams. I live a life of my dreams. I drive my super sports car, the car of my dreams from my childhood. I travel around the world. I travel in the United States. And I'm very blessed because of the Sandler and methodology. And for the first time when I quit corporate life, it was Porsche company. I said to myself, why I quit the corporate life? And there was two reasons, Dave. The first one was because of my independent thinking. I was struggling with my managers, and I always asked them why. And I was received an answer because I said so. And the second reason was this. I said to myself, that's enough, no more. Things don't work like this anymore. Why? Because I don't want to be no more on the paid list of my company. I don't want to be a paid anymore. I want to create money. It's a much different difference between being paid and making money.
You want to control your destiny.
Absolutely. And for the first time, I need to tell you this. Prior, I entered into the Sandler. As a typical sales, trainer, I was buying a book in the, bookstores, and I was underlining, some cheap sentences from the books, and I was trying to make some kind of sales training. And I said to myself, this is mission impossible. It's impossible to create methodology. And I said to myself, if I want to make serious money in this serious business, in the sales consulting business industry, there is a serious money. There is a serious potential of making money. But if I want to make serious money in this business, Dave, I have to be supported with great knowledge, great system, and the great company, which is Sandler.
Yeah. I'm so proud of what you've done. Yeah. Let's talk about the international community for instance, because you're one of many in Europe, right? Tell me a little bit about the international community and I'm not sure where I would go with the question. Just tell me a little bit about the international community and how they interact with home office and the types of support and the communication. You have a coach. Susan's a full-time coach for the international group. Just talk a little bit about that before I ask you my last question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that Susan is going to watch and listen to this podcast. So I want to tell something. I wouldn't succeed without my coaches, because my coaches is, let's say, flight control, over the airplanes in the air. Mm-hmm. So I'm very proud having Susan, of course. She's my very close mentor, and she's helping on the daily basis, Dave. We internationals, we operate in a little bit different markets than the United States. But I'm so proud that in any day of the, any time during the day or night, I can call my coach and ask for support. I can call you, Dave. I can call, let's say, my colleague around the world in the network. So if I have very, let's say, demanding clients, I'm not ashamed to ask my, colleagues, maybe in Canada, United States, or in France for support. So I would say that one of the reasons I decided to go to Sandler and buy franchise, of course, is to being supported in any situation, which is very important for me to have a good clients and make good influence.
Yeah.
We cannot succeed alone. This is my message for someone who is going to listen and watch this video. You cannot succeed alone. It's impossible. We are in the people business. And people business has some kind of algorithms.
Yeah.
And the law of the brains and human psychology. I have to be supported with a great knowledge to help my prospect from point A to help them to reach point B. You cannot do it by yourself and alone. It's impossible. If you want to make serious money in this business, you cannot succeed.
It's tough to stay relevant with all the technology, all the differences in learning styles now, and just the changes in how methodology is applied is just, even the 10 years that you've been here, think about all the technology now that you're bringing in to your, to your students. It's just amazing what goes on. I have a couple questions. One, I want you to end by telling the story, if you feel comfortable, when you and I first met, and I actually said no to you, if you remember. And then, but beforehand, give us, if you had to do it over again, being an international franchisee, what would you do differently? Question one. And then tell me, what was the greatest satisfaction that you've had as a franchisee?
For the first, on your first question, I would say I would start earlier.
Okay, all right.
And I would quit earlier in corporate life. I was afraid, to start my business. And my greatest achievement while I was, I've been running a Sandler business, I would say, Dave, it's the brutal self-confidence. At this moment of my life, in my career, I can find myself in any C-suite in the rest of the world, with any CEO in any company in the world, because I'm so supported, and my identity, what I feel about myself on an emotional basis, intellectually basis, I find myself that I can run the conversation and the business, prospective meeting with anyone in the world. This is my greatest satisfaction and my greatest achievement. Beside of that, on materials things, I would say I have a great life. I would say I'm pretty much financially independent. I run a great business and I'm recognized. And something that I'm going to run to the rest of my world is having a contribution to the mankind. It's not all about money. It's all about
legacy.
It's a legacy, David, because I think with our knowledge and expertise, we are helping people to become a better person. For me, this is the best achievement in my business. It makes me so happy and boosts me every single day.
Dragan, I say this all the time, and I'll say it for the listeners now. There's always three things that humble me every time I talk to a client, and they're going to say, I wish I met you 10 years earlier at Sandler. Not me personally, but Sandler, because you would change my whole life. Two, I use this in my personal life, the Sandler tactics, as much as I use it in my business world. So it's across my life. I use this everywhere. The third thing that they say is, I want my children to go to Sandler so they don't have to spend 20 years failing and bumping around like I did. I want them to start where I'm now, where I am in my career. I want them to start earlier. And to your point, it's so humbling because it's not the money, but changing people's lives so they have money to pay for a vacation, or money to send their children to university, or money to retire on time is awesome.
Dave, I always tell the people who are willing and able to invest such a big amount in their knowledge, education, I tell them this: before you spend and throw away your money in any MBA program, please talk to me. Because in my President's Club, I still call it President's Club, David. Mm-hmm. I'm old guy, Sandler old guy, also Sandler. In my President's Club, I'm going to teach you how to be treated on the same level. How to be treated how to talk on the same level, how to have equal business stature. Because I tell them, you don't have to do business with me, but we have to respect each other. Without respecting each other, we cannot make money and make a business. So I owe you the answer on the first question on your biggest no, which actually frustrated me in that particular time, 10, 15 years ago. I cannot remember right now. I wanted to buy a franchise without money. My heart was big like the house.
Yeah,
but
I remember.
I was willing, but I wasn't able. And I told you, please wait me. I'm going to back. Like Schwarzenegger said, I'll be back. And I said to you, I'll be back, Dave, just waiting for me, please. And, I took the airplane, and while was a conference in November in Baltimore, I took fly away from the Europe to United States, and I told you, I just want to tell you, Dave, that you're not going to take away a franchise agreement from me. And you were astonished with my courage and my intention. Yeah. And I think that I proved you that never listen people what they say, just watch their behavior. And I think that I show you my behavior, to die something for. And we stayed in touch, of course. And when I bought franchise, I felt like I achieved the summit of the Mount Everest. It was the greatest achievement for myself. And at this point, Dave, regarding my experience, how I bought franchise and how I made chance for myself to have a Sandler franchise, can you guess with how many knowledge and circumstances and facts you have to knock me down from this chair as a salesperson across the table? I'm allowing to you, to give me some circumstances, but you have to be a very good player to tell me that some things don't works.
I'll always remember, Dragan, you came to the conference and you absolutely wanted to be in the business.
Yeah.
And we sat down, and you're right. I said, you are absolutely willing. You have the experience. You have the desire. You just don't have enough money for you to survive the ramp up time. And it's unfair for me to say yes to you for your family. And, you had some personal issues with your daughter. So you had a lot of things going on, and you were heroic because the fact that you were even considering to be an entrepreneur was awesome, right? But you had that inner drive. And I remember second guessing myself, to be honest, because you were devastated at the time, but I knew in my heart of hearts it was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And you're right. You went back, and I was always hopeful that we would see each other again, but let's face it, out of 100 people who say I'm coming back, one out of 1,000 come back, right? And that fire in you just grew and grew. And you came back, I don't know if it's 3-4 years later, and said, I worked extremely hard. I have saved enough money for the ramp up time. And I was so proud of you. And you've never looked back. You have never looked back. And that same determination has made you who you are today, my friend. So proud.
Thank you so much for having a trust in me. And I believe deep inside of me, Sandler business, it's not a business. It's a way of thinking and way of life. So I like helping people. And my heart is full when some of my prospects and clients tell me, Dragan, you helped me a lot with winning this, account. And I'm very happy. This is for the first time I disqualify my clients. And I felt much, much better, than, let's say, that pretend that I want the biggest, client in my career. So being a product of the product and help people to be a better person for me is this is my life mission, and it's something I want to do for the rest of my life.
Well, I think the listeners can take away today. It doesn't matter the size of your territory. It doesn't matter, the economic cycles that either your area goes through, regardless of where you are in the world or what's happening. And mindset is not a certificate from university. It's equal business stature as a mindset. It's not a certificate. And we're in the people business. And so I really think by sharing your story today, people can listen and try to assimilate where they are in their journey to become an entrepreneur or not, and really take a lot out of today. So I appreciate you spending some time coming to talk to us.
Yeah, no problem. For the end, I was thinking a lot. If you wanna buy a car, you need a new car. You go to showroom, you see the car, you like the car, you buy the car. But selling a knowledge, something untouchable, actually it's quite different. And I realized we are the car in the showroom. I am the car. I'm Ferrari. I'm Porsche. I'm Corvette. I drive Corvette. So I have to be product of the product, because on the market there is a lot of smoke screen sales gurus, because it's very easy to become sales trainer. If you are an employee, if you are quit, if you get fired, what is the best way to feed my family? Go to sales trainers. And that's why, Dave, our knowledge obligates us. We have the best on the market. I'm considering myself, Dave, I'm going to say something that's going to be feeding my ego, but I'm going to take a risk. I'm considering myself as a 3% of top consultant in the world.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my personal feelings. That's my personal identity.
Yeah.
And I'm going to risk to share with you and your audience.
Taking world-class content and methodology with world-class drive, mindset, and look what you've achieved.
I have the best technology in the world inside of me, and I'm the product. When I sell Sandler, I'm sell this Ferrari, this Porsche, this Corvette, and I'm selling my product. And what my clients see on me, they would like to see on themselves.
That's right. 100%. I think the last thing people should take away from this is that when an owner is sitting and talking to a Sandler trainer, they know who their employees are. And if you act like their employees, they don't need to hire you.
Absolutely.
You have to act how they want their employees to act, is what you're saying. And that's what you've done. And again, Dragan, thanks for popping on today. I really do appreciate it. Lots of lessons learned for those who are watching. And I look forward to seeing you at the upcoming conference.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dave. Bye-bye.
For more information on Sandler franchising opportunities, go to sandler.com/franchising. And don't forget to subscribe to the No Guts, No Gain podcast on your favorite app.